Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome. Give a few moments for people to tune in. If you're tuning in later, you can fast forward to when we get started. So saying salams and where you're from and how you doing. Salams and where you're from. We got Samira in Abu Dhabi. Alaikum assalam. Who else? Salams and where you're from. Abdul Jawad says, Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Muhammad. Nice to meet you again. Nice to meet you too. We got Maryam says from the Swiss kids, Asia, Bilqis, and Juju in Zurich. Wa alaikum assalam. We got Mewish in Montreal. Wa alaikum assalam. Tass in Dallas. Wa alaikum assalam. Abimbola. Wa alaikum assalam. Farhana. Wa alaikum assalam. Fadi. Wa alaikum assalam. Faika. Wa alaikum assalam. Samira's kids, Arham, Riham, Rahim, and Sa'im. Alaikum assalam. We got Nurin in Bangladesh. Wa alaikum assalam. Bina. Wa alaikum assalam. That's a lot of salams right there. We got Heidi in Denmark. As soon as it hits 100 people, I'm going to start. In Birmingham, Sharif, my cousin. All right, we've hit 100. All right, let's begin. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi man wala amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, Vietnam. How's everybody doing? Today, inshallah ta'ala, we're talking about rizq and we're talking about the economy. So, when I was a little kid, I was a little kid growing up in Winnipeg, and the number one bird that was everywhere in the province of Manitoba, Winnipeg, Manitoba, was the robin. If you don't know a robin, it's got a black back and a orange reddish type of stomach. Robins, okay? When we were little kids, the teachers consistently told us never to feed the birds. Never to feed the birds. And so you're thinking to yourself, you know what? I'm generous. I see these birds. They need help. They need food. But we're told not to feed the birds. Actually, I got a really cool side story to this. The reason, I don't know if I should tell you the punchline or tell you the side story. So my father-in-law, I'm going to tell you the side story first. My father-in-law does not heed this recommendation, and he feeds all the animals. I tell him, you're like a Disney princess. All the birds and squirrels and all the animals come surrounding him because he always feeds them. So my father-in-law was traveling, and this is what happened. I actually did one of my classes from his home when I was, in that area. And it's like a second floor. And as I was coming towards the end of my lecture, I heard a knock, kind of like a knock on the window, on the glass. So after I had finished the lecture, just a few minutes later, I'm thinking to myself, we're on the second floor. Who is knocking on the glass? There's no access to anybody. It's not even a balcony. Who's knocking on the glass on the second floor? So then I put two and two together, and then I asked my mother-in-law, I said, did you feed the squirrels? I go, because they're knocking on the door. You didn't feed them. And she goes, oh yeah, I forgot. The squirrels were literally, it was almost Maghrib time and they didn't get their food. They were sitting outside knocking on the door saying, what's up with that? Where's our food? Okay, so that's the side story. Let's get back to the original lesson. Never feed the birds. Never feed the animals. Why not? So here's the interesting thing. If you start feeding an animal, the animal or the bird becomes dependent on you. And you are not capable of feeding it every day for the rest of its life. The bird or the animal becomes dependent on you for rizq, for provision, and it becomes trained. It will just keep coming back for that rizq, for that provision, and you are not capable of feeding it for the rest of its life. So don't start, because you're going to change its mindset, and then you're actually going to lead to the harm of this animal. Just like I gave you the example of the squirrels. They're literally sitting outside the door, knocking on the window, okay? But later on, as I learned deen and I started to understand this a little bit better, you do not feed the birds because the way you provide for the birds is the way a human being provides. And if you just leave the bird alone, Allah will provide for it. And Allah's provision, Allah's rizq to these birds is perfect. Allah's rizq and provision to these birds is perfect, and your provision is imperfectly human. It's imperfect. And because of that, you will cause harm to these birds. So don't turn them away from the rizq that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides for them. Yes, this is what our teachers are telling us at this young age. And so, as the Prophet ﷺ said, if you only placed your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way you should be placing your trust in Allah, Allah will provide for you the same way He provides for the birds. Subhanallah. And I just told you this story, right? Allah's provision for the birds is perfect. The Prophet ﷺ said, لَوْ أَنَّكُمْ تَوَكَّلْتُمْ عَلَى اللَّهِ حَقَّ تَوَكُّلِهِ, that if you only place your trust in Allah, haqqa, with the right tawakkul on Allah, placing trust in Allah, Allah will provide for you just like He provides for the birds. They wake up and they travel, they go with empty bellies, and they come back with bellies full. And they come back with bellies full. And I wanted to remind ourselves like that. I know there's this immense focus on the virus and the health and what you may be feeling. And I'd love to hear your what's happening in your situation is the economic pandemic that's going to happen. If it's not already started happening, the collapse of the stock markets, people being laid off, jobs that are 90% of their workforce going home, everything closing, it's worldwide. And this next tsunami wave is going to be an economic one. And I believe it's coming very shortly. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. And so I would like to remind myself and you of spiritual ways to increase your rizq, spiritual ways to increase your provisions. So number one, the first thing I want to remind you of is being thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, shukr. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed in the Quran, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ, that if you are thankful, I will increase you. So as you're in this, in these isolations and you're in your homes, try to think more and more of how you can be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And thankfulness is with all of our limbs. So we not only are thankful with our tongue, but we're thankful with our wealth. And so we share with our wealth. We are thankful with our hands. So we help out with other people, for example, or maybe a neighbor needs some assistance or something like that, and so on. So you're thankful with all of these things. The other way to spiritually increase your rizq is, as the Prophet ﷺ taught us, that if whoever amongst you wishes to have their rizq, their provisions increased, whoever wishes for their provisions to be increased, فَلْيَصِلْ رَحِمَهُ, let them fulfill their ties of kinship, or tie their ties of kinship. Which is really interesting in the times we're living in as well. We have economic problems or economic issues, and the Prophet ﷺ is saying that if you want your rizq to be increased, then strengthen your ties and strengthen your connectedness with your relatives. Now, as I come to the conclusion here, I think we've all got a relative, maybe an extended relative, or maybe parents or something like that we haven't checked in on enough. Maybe we haven't checked in with them at all, or maybe maybe you have some nephews and nieces that you haven't checked in with, or maybe you aren't calling your parents enough, or who is it that's close to you yet you haven't checked on them? Maybe you haven't even communicated with them in this economic issue that we're dealing with in these isolations. I want to remind myself and remind you to, number one, be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and continue to have that shukr. And the second thing is, let's take a moment now after you're done with this Facebook Live and go and find a relative of yours that you haven't communicated with in a while, or maybe during all of this you haven't even touched base with them, or maybe it was just really briefly, and reconnect with them. Fulfill those ties of kinship. Ask how are things going with them, and inshallah ta'ala, that will be a means for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase in your rizq. And that's it. Jazakallah khairan. So I am broadcasting today from home. I was in the garage the past few days, and the days before that I was outside in an empty park. So I'm kind of like retreating in, staying home, inshallah ta'ala, more and more. So anyways, we are done. Jasenia says, I have one person that I need to check in with. SubhanAllah, only one person. We all have. I thought to myself, we've all got that one person that's close to us, uncle and aunt, parents, that we should check in with and say, Sam, and how are you doing? And how are things going during this time? Am I tired today? It was short. No, the reminder was on point. The reminder was on point. That's why. All right, if there's 10 people who've got kids, let's do the kids shout out. There you go. Miraj and Rayyan and Isra. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. That's number one. Who else needs a shout out? We are done. If you want to tune out, you can tune out. Otherwise, we're just doing the shout outs. We got Sumaira's daughter, Safiya. Alaikum assalam. Jasenia says, I've checked in with almost everyone except that person. Astaghfirullah, I feel this reminder was exactly for me. And I'll tell you, Jasenia, that I do these reminders because I know I need them. And I'm like speaking first to myself. So that's why I'm like, I know I've got that uncle or I've got this person or that person that I need to check in with and I haven't checked in. Shazia's got Aiza, wa alaikum assalam. Mawish, we got Layba, Noor, and Ismail, wa alaikum assalam. That's number 5. Merrick Bell says, I'm late because I was checking up on people back home in Canada. Good for you. So you're implementing what we were talking about. And Samira says, and you didn't have brain crash. So the interesting thing is, if I'm home, I've got lots of options to not have brain crash. I can write notes. I can put it on a computer. Great things happen when I'm home. All right, 5 more people. Saad Zafar, 5-month-old. Hey. 5-month-old son, Muhammad. I'm like, he's not going to really hear me if I do a shout out for him. What's some advice for a 5-year-old boy? Awesome as you. I would say, you know what? Forget awesome as me. I don't know. The advice is for you, Saad. I would say the best thing you can do for your son is kind of like set some goals for yourself and what you want to do with your son. And so that you're not just wasting time or letting time pass, but you're saying, hey, I've got some goals and there's like something that we're driving towards. Not everybody believes in that style. And it's not that, my son has to be like a professional soccer player and I'm going to force him throughout all these years. No, but I'm like, just have some general direction. So your growth is growth for your son, inshallah ta'ala. And Mi'raj says, shout out for Mahira as well. Alaikum assalam. All right, there were 3 questions, so we'll move to questions. So this one question comes from Amina. How do you cope with some of the emotional discussions they have in a respectful way? So you're talking about, what if I have in-laws, or automatically I thought in-laws. But so I'm saying connect with them. I'm not saying go out to dinner and have tea and discuss emotional discussions. I'm just talking about, hey, assalamu alaikum, how's everybody doing? How are you guys doing? That's what I'm talking about. I don't think you have to go all the way towards, hey, there's this big issue that needs discussing. What I'm talking about here is connecting with them. Islamically, fulfilling your ties of kinship, fulfilling your ties of brotherhood, if you look at the rights of a brother to his brother, are, like if they sneeze, you say Arhamukallah. Obviously, if they say salam, you say salam back to them. If they're sick, you visit them. If they have a walima, you attend the walima, a marriage. If they die, you attend their funeral. Those are their rights. You don't have to be friends with a person, but you fulfill their rights. So if I have somebody that I want to distance myself from, and everybody's distancing these days, but if there's somebody I want to distance from, then I just won't be their friend, but I will fulfill their rights. I'll say salam to them, I'll go to the marriage, I'll do this and that, but they're not my friend. But they're my brother or they're my sister. You get what I'm saying? Yasmina had a question. Let me go back to it. Yasmina says, what if relatives who always cause trouble and we're distancing ourselves to protect ourselves? So I think, Yasmina, same concept. So you're distancing yourself to protect yourself. Again, you don't have to visit them and be friends with them, but you're fulfilled ties of kinship. So, like I said, salam, when they say salam, you are, and they probably get the hint that you don't want to be friends, but you're not cutting them off. It's not like you don't say salam to them, or it's not like, they call and you hang up, or you give them cold shoulder. None of that stuff. It's just you're basically fulfilling the rights of your brother or your sister, and then you don't have to be friends after that. Wallahu a'lam. Impressions by Saisha. You've got Aisha and Ahmed. Wa alaikum assalam. There's like 4 more kid shout outs today. Whoa. Okay. Zahra Muhammad has got Hassan, Halima, Ishaq, and Mikael, mashallah. Alaikum assalam. Shazia has got Aiza in Wichita. Wa alaikum assalam. Anna Mia has got Maryam and Hakim. Wa alaikum assalam, Maryam and Hakim. Nurul, Shafiza and Uthman. Shout out to my kids, Sumaya, Adam, Zakaria, Fatima, Maryam. MashaAllah, that's a lot of kids. Mubarak. And Farjana Absar, shout out to my son Sayyid and Sulaiman. Wa alaikum assalam. And Ammar has got Munib. And that's it. We've hit 10 people. Alright guys, Jazakallah khairan. Until we meet again. Tomorrow we actually have a very special Facebook Live. The timing for it is going to be 12 noon Eastern time, and it's going to be a special presentation on thriving during these times of uncertainty, and it's with a special focus on mental health. So tune in at that time. It's going to be 12 noon time Eastern time. That's New York time. I don't know what time that is in London or anywhere else in the world, but 12 p.m. New York time tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, I will be doing a special Facebook Live. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. اللهم رب الناس أذهب البأس واشفي أنت الشافي لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما. Ya Allah. Assalamu alaikum.